Greetings and welcome to another edition of Montpelier Connection. I'm State Representative Mike Mrowicki from Putney, and today's guest is somebody from outside Windham County. We have Representative Jill Krowinski from Burlington.
Hey, thanks for having me here.
Well, thank you for taking the time. Now, what part of Burlington do you represent?
I represent part of the Old North End in downtown Burlington. Yeah. So Church Street and Old North End's in my district.
So the college.
Part of the college.
Part of the college.
Yeah. Representative Keisha Rum and Chris Pearson are more on the other side there.
Okay. Yeah. Well, for those of us who don't know Burlington that well, that's helpful. Now, we serve together on the House Human Services Committee.
We do.
And we have had a full slate this year. Everything from lots of time on the budget. And for the last 2 weeks now, just about, we've been working on the Death with Dignity bill. Are there highlights yet for you of the legislative session? Are there places that have been tougher, places that have felt good?
Sure. Well, those are all really good questions. I think that our work on the budget, really focusing on programs that help working families and new families with children have been really important to me, especially in my district in Burlington. Finding high-quality childcare is really challenging, and we have families, and some of my friends were just telling me the other day that the wait list to get access to a child care provider was a year, and that's a long time. So, we've done some really good work in addressing those issues. I think that the bill that we passed around drug addiction and prescription drugs was really good. That's another thing that in our district, in my district in Burlington, it's a problem. And we need to help give law enforcement the tools and people the tools to get rid of drugs that they're not using for safe medication disposal, all the way up to giving police officers the tools to work with health departments and other local officials and making sure that people get the treatment they need when they need it.
Yeah. Going back to child care for a little bit, and I think we're starting to delineate this a little bit more finer now. We tend to talk of child care as from birth to 3 and then pre-K as 4 and 5-year-olds. Now, I feel the governor had a good idea starting out, and the idea to provide more supports for child care, to sustain the system, to grow the system, to address those waiting lists. Real good idea. I think where we came down differently was how to fund it. I think a lot of us in the House felt like we should be asking the highest earners to make a bigger contribution, and I think that's where the difference of opinion is right now. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree with you, and I think it's interesting because we, as the House, set a position about how to pay for it, which is very different from the governor, and now it's in the Senate's hands, who could have a very different position. And I know yesterday I was just speaking with a member of the Senate Appropriations Committee that we're just getting new proposals on how to fund it. So it is a moving target, but I think it is really important for members of the House to work with the Senate to really express why that concept of funding is so important.
Yeah, and we are getting to the end of the session in that time where we are negotiating with the Senate, with the administration, and it becomes kind of a dance that I think we'll get to a good place, but in the meantime, it's not always easy to get to that place. Yeah. We are looking at the Death with Dignity bill. We have been for a couple of weeks now. We're hoping to put a bill out that builds on what the Senate sent over to us. This is your first go-round with this bill.
It is.
Any thoughts on where we should end up?
I think that, it's been really fascinating and interesting to hear all of the different perspectives on this, from medical professionals to families who've gone through a death with dignity, Oregon style, kind of typical to the safeguards that they have put in place and the system they've put in place there, and also different alternatives and how we can do that in Vermont. And I believe that the version that the Senate passed really didn't have enough safeguards, and it wasn't strong enough to really have the point. I think the point of all of this is that everyone can have, a dignified death and it's their choice in how they do that, and how we can create a safe system for that to happen.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking forward to continuing our conversation on this, and hope we get something through that I think everyone can feel good about.
I agree. I think that we're hearing from a lot of people. One of the things that I've been coming to understand as we move forward with this is there was a question is why we're doing this. Why does it keep coming up? And I was reminded of 30, 35 years ago when there was a real grassroots movement to change the perception and the experience for many women in birthing their children. I think there was a generation of women who had really bad experiences of being restrained, being treated in ways that they were almost incidental to the process of giving birth. And it gave birth to a whole new perspective on that, starting with home births, birthing centers. And basically, I think what was happening is women felt like doctors were not listening to them, were not giving them what they wanted. And I think similarly, this is a reaction to people feeling like their wishes are not being heard when it comes to the ultimate experience in life, and that's passing on to the next realm or wherever. And I feel like it's maybe it's changing, and maybe this legislation will help people change, and it's helped in creating more palliative care, more hospice care, but we're still not there yet, and I think that's why it's important that this work go on.
Absolutely. And it is interesting to, as we learn more about pain management at the end of life and how few Vermonters are taking advantage of using advanced directives and hospice care. And so I think one of the things we've been talking about a lot in committee is how we can get more people aware and educated about the system that's out there and what's available, and making sure they know about those tools.
Now, a lot of us bring different experiences to how we get to the house. I worked in human services, community development for years. Want to talk a little bit about your work outside the legislature and then some of the other things that you're working on?
Sure. I work at Planned Parenthood of Northern New England. I've been there for over 4 years now, and I do work within public policy and risk management and special projects, and it's a great job. I feel very lucky to be able to work there and to be able to work at a place that you feel so passionate about. So
well, thank you for that work.
Thank you. And other projects that I'm working on, I'm really interested in helping young women and girls get involved in their communities and in local government. And we have some great programs in Vermont, but I think not a lot of people know about them. And one of the projects that's happening is around Girl State. And Girl State is a program that's been happening for decades. It's a great partnership between the Vermont Commission on Women and the Women's Auxiliary. They work together to create a scenario where high school students, girls, and there's a boys' state as well, to come together and they form government. They learn all about the process. They elect a governor. They elect a Speaker of the House. They work in committees to see how bills are through, and I think that's really, it's so critical for young girls and women because they can experience it and be there firsthand and say, I can do this. I can see how this works. It's not as scary or intimidating. Yeah. It's really empowering. So this year, Girl State is happening June 18th and 19th, so we're starting to get organized and ready for that. And then there's another project that's happening. Governor Madeleine Kunin is a huge advocate, a very outspoken leader on encouraging women to run for office. And she has this great saying that if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. And, it's true that even in Vermont we have a great number of women serving in the House and the Senate. We ranked second in the country for the number of women serving, but we're still not at half. So we still don't have equal representation. And Vermont is only one of, I think, 3 states now that has not sent a woman to Washington. And in fact, in my hometown in Burlington, we've never had a woman elected mayor. So we have a lot of work to do. So a group of women, spearheaded by Governor Kunin, has been forming in this organization called Emerge Vermont, and it's not completely organized yet. It's a group of women who are on a mission to get more women to run for office. And so we're starting to talk about how we can do that and what training we could have available, and really help to create a mentoring system to help more women run for office.
I remember hearing Governor Kunin speak about that and how we really need to put those intentions out there and follow through. And personally, I believe we all benefit when we have a balanced approach. And the way that men and women work together, I think, is really helpful. I think it's indicative of why I think Vermont works much better than Washington. We have closer to an even mix, but we're not there yet. So I appreciate your work. I offer an open invitation when the time comes that you can organize and bring this down to Windham County to help us get more women involved there too.
Absolutely. And you know, there are a lot of other issues that we've been taking up at the State House that kind of deal with the gender gap. We passed in the House an equal pay bill that really helped to address the wage gap between Vermont women and men. Right now, nationwide, women make 77 cents to the dollar as men. In Vermont, we're at 84 cents. So we're doing better, but we still have a ways to go. That's still a pretty big bridge. And so that bill has passed the House, and it's moving through the Senate. So I'm hopeful that we will be able to get that passed. But you know, there are other ways where we see these differences even now in 2013, and we're working to address those.
Yeah, I know one of the things that I'm aware of is that within family dynamics, there's research that's showing that even in 2013, that the sense of equality works until kids come on the scene, and then sometimes people fall back into old stereotypes. And as somebody who spent time at home as a stay-at-home dad, I encourage men out there to do it. It's the greatest learning experience I ever had. I think it was good for my kids, but I know it was good for me. And I think it gives us a better perspective as to what it is to try and balance all those things in your life. So thank you for your work, and I look forward to trying to support that, because it has to come. Your efforts can show the leadership, but men have to be supportive of that as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Anything else that you're looking forward to take care of this session or next session that's on your horizon?
Yeah, you know, one of my personal projects that I feel really strongly about, and I've been working with different coalition and community stakeholders in, is addressing environmental health. So there are chemicals around us that we use on our bodies every day, from shampoo to deodorant to lipstick, to the flame retardants that are on our couches and furniture. And the more and more we learn, the more and more we get research showing that these chemicals cause cancer, they cause birth defects, infertility, and these are serious issues. And I think that we need to seriously look at this issue and address a system that can be transparent and let consumers know about what products contain what. So, for example, there was a study recently that showed that tested lipsticks, and this is through the Campaign for Safe Cosmetics. And out of 33 lipsticks they tested, 61% contained lead at levels that were not safe. And I think of, and how do consumers know about this? They're not required to label. There's no one that is really a watchdog for these issues to let consumers know. So I'm on a mission. I would love to see comprehensive chemical reform to really tackle this issue, but that's going to come from Washington, and I don't see that happening. So we need to find the Vermont way and how to tackle this. And so I'm continuing to work on that. And if anyone is interested in joining me, I welcome them.
Well, I agree. I think one of the things we've found is we can't wait for Washington.
Right.
Whether it's with gun safety, GMOs, or in this instance with cosmetic products. we can't wait for Washington.
Right.
That Vermont way is to show leadership, and thank you for your leadership on that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I think that's about all the time we have for now. We have to get to work.
We do.
And we've got some other things to do. But thank you so much for taking the time. If people want to get in touch with Jill, we're going to be showing her contact information on the credits and on the screen. So feel free to join in all the good efforts that she's doing.
And thank you for all the great work you're doing, and your district, they're lucky to have you. You're doing a great job.
Yeah. Well, thank you. That's about all for this week. We are winding up the session. We'll probably have a couple more shows, but I want to thank Jill, thank all the people back at BCTV for bringing the State House closer to you, and thanks to you. Please keep in touch and have a good day.